Well, I can't say that I had a new Modern Warfare 3 intel drop on my bingo card for today, but it's what we have, so I'm here for it. In today's intel drop, the team at Sledgehammer Games showed off the multiplayer maps of Modern Warfare 3, and for those keeping track, yes, that's the 16 original Modern Warfare 2 from 2009 maps coming back from Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer. Today we're breaking this down, what you need to know, and additional details that came along with all this. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you think of Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer maps showcased so far, and any details we've seen, or perhaps what you're still hoping to see here ahead of the COD Next multiplayer reveal. If you enjoyed the video, you'll find it all insightful. Do me a favor and drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 3. We've got a ton up on deck here with COD Next and the multiplayer reveal just over the horizon, and much more until then. So I'd love to have you in the community if you'd like to join. And finally, check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for the best blue light glasses on the market. Code Espresso getting you 10% off your entire order, but more on that a little later. For now, let's jump into Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer maps and what you can expect to see here with them. What's the same, what's new, and everything in between. First, if you haven't already, check out the intel drop to hear directly from the developers.
For multiplayer and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, we wanted to give the player a new way to experience these classic maps. When we told the art team, we're gonna be making these maps, they lit up. They were like calling dibs on which ones they wanted to go get reference for.
Maps really come through. They feel like they felt back then. And when you're playing High Rise, when you're playing Estate, you feel really transported back. We questioned a lot of what was good about the movement of older games, what was good about the gunplay of older games, and the same with the newer games. So we tried to marry a lot of those things together.
The way we approach it is that, how are we gonna make these the best versions of those maps that people have ever played? Because that's what we wanted. That's what we want as fans.
There are places where the metrics of the level are adjusted to fit more modern gameplay, but for the most part, it's going to feel incredibly similar. The biggest changes are really in a fidelity sense. Places like Afghan, where it might have been difficult to see somebody in some of the circumstances, we have new tools to make that both look better, but also read better, so that your target acquisition is improved.
Favela is a map where it really pushed our opportunities to explore what you couldn't do in the old one and what you can do now. From an artistic side, the map has more detail than I think any other map. In High Rise, it's fun to explore and jump on the scaffolding and mantle to places that you weren't able to actually grab or reach before. Now you can get there.
When it was a question of whether it should be like the original or whether it should be more modern in terms of the metrics, we went with the original. And we pushed very hard to make sure that that experience was as close to the original as we possibly could while we modernized the look of the map.
I've seen people play it for the first time and they don't really know what they're gonna see, and when that load screen shows up for Favela or for Quarry, you see them light up like, oh my gosh, these are the maps that I've been hoping they would remake.
The whole team here is super excited to bring all of these maps to fans everywhere.
So honestly, a couple of different takeaways here that we can talk about, some different subpoints. But firstly, honestly, I think that these maps look visually stunning. I think that when you look at them from Modern Warfare 2 to where we are now, seeing that complete jump from 2009 to 2023, it's just incredible to me how much we've progressed in those years here and what we can do now with the tech to make these maps look as good as they are. One of the big things that was apparently improved upon here was better visibility. As detailed in the accompanying blog alongside this intel drop, it stated Sledgehammer Games and Infinity Ward have a wealth of game engine and design tech advancements at their disposal, such as variable rate shading and numerous runtime systems for better enemy visibility, to name a few. So definitely nice to see, and we'll see in just a second here, because there are adjustments that were detailed to the maps that don't make them direct one-to-one remasters, but only varying slightly. Some of those do actually compound on top of that better visibility. So kind of jumping into that, the slight adjustments to these maps that were detailed in that accompanying blog post, the changes in most cases are slight. It's not anything that is just like, oh my god, they destroyed this map, but more so things that are just smaller details. Like one example they gave was the Favela football pitch. It's now paved over with blue acrylic coating for blacktop as opposed to being a grass pitch. Another one is that there's more lights in Skid Row's darker areas for better visibility. There are a lot of those different cutout rooms, again, that it made it tough sometimes to see a player, and especially with how many different cosmetic kinetic skins we have now, how many times we've seen skins like Rose from Warzone that will just blend into those dark corners. That's something that obviously you want to try and mitigate where possible. So to see that kind of stuff, I'm totally fine with that. Other differences are like models of cars and subtle changes like that. However, they did detail that there are a few major air quote differences described, like Estate, for example, that has now access to the lake behind the boathouse, expanding the borders of the map a little bit, where players can swim out to a platform and overlook the area. Additionally, there's a little building, it seems like, now where that jutting out pipe in Rust was, to attempt to combat that one camping spot here that was pretty relevant back in the original. One thing that I will say is that they were kind of sneaky to not showcase really any doors, because that was a huge question that I remember when it was announced of, would there be doors? Or so they thought, because there are a few instances where we do see off in the distance a door where there maybe wasn't necessarily in the originals, which in my mind, what we've seen so far out of this doesn't pose too much of a threat to the gameplay. I wouldn't lose my lid over this just yet, but we'll see how it all comes out. Again, more information will be now starting to roll out from now until COD Next and the multiplayer reveal, so we will start to see more information here with this. But right now, just know that it seems like there are some doors at least, but doesn't seem like as many based off of what we've seen so far. Beyond that, there were some general changes to the gameplay flow by nature. It's described the most important change to the 16 multiplayer maps aren't how they look, but how they ultimately play. Because of technological advancements in Call of Duty's animation and movement techniques over the past 14 years, operators can tactical sprint and leap between rooftops, mantle, and navigate alleyways with tac stance, giving players more confidence during these frenetic close quarters engagements. So the maps themselves aren't going to play exactly as you remember. You might be able to mantle over some things. You might be able to jump up on top of some things. You might be able to do all these different mechanics that we've been able to see the last 10 years or so within Call of Duty, progressively getting to faster paced gameplay nature, but all on these original maps. So in some case, while it is a sort of remaster to a degree and it's something that may feel familiar to you, it's also a new way to play some of these things. Like if you can mantle up on top of some stuff a little easier, get high ground positioning on top of people while also knowing the layout of every map if you are a veteran from 14 years ago, well, that changes the way the gameplay actually ultimately will play, and it's something that offers you a benefit as the player, having that insight and knowing, hey, I can traverse this a little easier. So in that sense, that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And then finally, movement in some sequences. Honestly, I thought it looked really good for the few seconds that they showed us. Like, they showed off a little bit of the mantle, a little bit of the jump spots and stuff like that, but the mantle itself looked way faster than what we saw with Modern Warfare 2, and I'm here for that, because that's something that it looks like it's just a slight hop over, and that's what it should be, I think. Keep that momentum, that pacing up. I think that Modern Warfare 2, it was just something that took way too long for just simple jump ups, simple mantles. In some cases, you had to jump, hang there for a second because of the ledge hang mechanic, and then get up on top of stuff. And then also for just like smaller scale things to mantle, that really still took a decent bit of time as well. So I'm glad that it looks like the pacing of that has all been increased. And again, we'll see more in time, but for right now, I'm pleasantly surprised with being shown off this kind of stuff this early on, and also the bit of information we can derive from it. But for now, that is what we're gonna call it. So that said, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this here? Before we wrap everything up, make sure you check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for 10% off your entire order of what I think are the best blue light glasses on the market. I've used the frames for about 2 to 3 years now, and I've been incredibly happy with every pair. Honestly, I still use some of my originals, so they keep up with time for sure. They're definitely worth that investment. I can't do nearly enough justice for the studies, the depth of detail they provide on their website, and the science behind everything. That information's all linked down below. But what I can tell you is that, again, in 2 to 3 years of using their product, I'll say that they are the most comfortable, lightweight, and durable frames of any pair of glasses that I've used. Absolutely have helped my daily productivity. So if you guys want to at least learn more, honestly, I encourage just even that. Go check out the details of what they have on offer. But if you want to pick something up for yourself, code Espresso can get you 10% off your entire order. Again, link in the description below. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. So again, drop your thoughts down below. What are you guys looking forward to seeing here? What did you like or dislike out of what we were showing so far today with these multiplayer maps? And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing running all things Modern Warfare 3 as we gear up for COD Next and the multiplayer reveal, and a very busy fall in terms of FPS games. So love to have you in the community if you'd like to join in on all of that. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. So thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.